Okay, started.
Om Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedamscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tam Hadevam Atmabuddhi Prakasham Mumukshurvai Sharanamaham Prapadye Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti 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 Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha, Gurave Sarvalokanam Bhishaje Bhavaroginam, Idhaye Sarvavidyanam Shri Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Right. So I'll share my screen. Tell me if my screen is visible. Okay. I think it should be showing up now. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. 351 is where we stopped last week. 352 we have to start today. Can we start, or anyone
Yes.
has any comments? No?
No, sir.
All clear? Okay. So we'll start 352. Okay. Okay. Just a minute. I think I lost. Okay. You can still see my screen, right? Vivek Chudamani is shown,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
or has it disappeared? No.
No, we can see it, sir.
There.
But if you can enlarge it a bit, that would help.
Yeah, I will. I think I have to reopen the document. Give me a second. Something went wrong.
Okay, but from my cell phone, I'm able to maximize it, sir. Yeah.
No. There's some trouble at my side, so I'm closing the document and reopening it.
Right, sir.
That's why I have a printout of my own. I can't read. It's very...
Okay. Is it good now? Magnified?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Itham vipaschit
Itam
Tam
vipachita
Tam
vipashchita
vipachchita
tadasad vibhajya
tadasad vibhajya
vibhajya
nischitya tattvam
nishchitya tattvam
tattvam
nijabodha drishtya
Nijabodha
bodha drishtya
ज्ञात्वा स्वमात्मानं
ज्ञात्वा स्वमात्मानं
swamatmanam
अखण्डबोधं
अखण्डबोधं
तेभ्यो विमुक्तः
तेभ्यो विमुक्तः
स्वयमेव शान्तिः
स्वयमेव
शाम्यति
shamyati
Shamyati.
स्वयमेव शाम्यति
या इत्थं विपश्चित् सदसद् विभज्य निश्चित्य तत्त्वं निजबोध दृष्ट्या ज्ञात्वा स्वमात्मानम् अखण्डबोधं तेभ्यो विमुक्तः स्वयमेव शाम्यति. So the word itham means in this manner. So in this manner means in which manner? In the manner described in the previous 3-4 shlokas. Because in the 3 or 4 shlokas we saw the Acharya kind of quickly summarizing what is Shravanam Mananam, okay, I would say more of, in fact, fully Shravanam only. There was no Mananam there. But you can say Mananam is implied, because if you have to go to Nididhyasanam without Mananam, Shravanam will be incomplete. Okay, so you can say the Acharya summarized Shravanam Mananam in the last 5-6 slokas, and the essence of that Shravanam Mananam is that you have to learn the essential difference between Atma and Anatma, and the fact that this entire universe, body, mind, everything is made of Maya or Prakriti, which is what we call Anatma, and our true nature is something distinct, which is Brahma Swarupam, Chaitanyam. So that is the Sad Asat Vibhajya. So Vibhajya means to separate, and separate means not physically separate but intellectually separate. So the word Vibhajya here should be taken as Vivichya or with Vivekam. So you develop that intellectual sharpness, equip yourself with the knowledge and technique as to how you differentiate between Atma and Anatma. And once you have done that, you get the title Vipaschit. So the word Vipaschit is a very special word. It comes in one of the Upanishads also. It comes in Kathopanishad. And there is a parallel shloka in the Bhagavad Gita also. In the Bhagavad Gita, it runs like this. Na jayate mriyate va kadachit nayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyah ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. That comes in the second chapter, 19th or 20th shloka, which is actually a paraphrasing of a mantra from Kathopanishad, which is almost similar, but the word Vipaschit comes there. Na jayate mriyate va vipaschit nayam kutaschin na babhuva kaschit ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. So the second half of the mantra is bodily lifted by Krishna from the Upanishad to Bhagavad Gita, but the first line is slightly different. There the word vipaschit comes. That's why I quoted that mantra. The word vipaschit means the enlightened one. And it also has a meaning of sakshi. Vipaschita also means sakshi. So the person who understands that his true nature is Chaitanyam or Sakshi is here called Vipaschita himself. Okay, so Vipaschita here in this sloka means the learned one, the wise one. Nischitya, Itham Nischitya. Nischitya means having made that knowledge firm. Nischitya literally means, I told, no, if you have 99% knowledge, that is still not Nischaya Jnanam. That knowledge must be 100% certain. You are not looking for any additional proof. You don't need any proof that you are Brahman. That conviction is there. Then that is Nischitya, with a firm, decisive knowledge. Nischitya Tattvam. So the Tattvam is that knowledge. That Aham Brahmasmi, I am Chaitanyam, Aham, my true nature is consciousness. All that is Tattvam. Tattvam really means reality. The word Tattvam really means reality. And in the Upanishad, you have Tat Tvam Asi. That also there. So Tat and Tvam, when you treat them as two separate words, that refers to the Upanishad mantra, Tat Tvam Asi. But if Tvam is used as a suffix, Tattvam, Tattvam means reality. So the word Tattvam itself can be split in two different ways, and you can give two different meanings. Nija Bodha Drishtya. Nija Bodha means knowledge. And Nija means one's own. One's own. Drishtya here means conviction. So what the Acharya wants to say is, it is not sufficient if your guru is convinced about this knowledge. Guru's conviction will not help you. You yourself have to convince yourself about this truth. That is the Nija Bodha Drishtya. So even if you have heard this in hundreds of lectures, you are Brahman and all that, you should not say, my guru says I am Brahman, but I don't know. That is not knowledge. Yeah. And you should not say there is some Brahman somewhere. My guru is telling there is some Brahman somewhere, but I am here. That is also not knowledge. The true knowledge is when you say with conviction, look, I am Brahman. This body is temporary. This body is incidental. This is not reality. That level of conviction is your Nija Bodha Drishti. Okay, and Drishtya means through that conviction. Jnatva, having known. What do you know? Swam Atmanam Akhanda Bodham. To know yourself as that Brahman, which is Akhanda Bodham. And here the word Bodham means consciousness, Chaitanya Swarupam. And Akhanda means without any division. One single entity, no divisions, no parts. That is Akhandam. So you go through the Shravanam process with full conviction. You are able to declare that I am Brahma. I am, English am, Brahma, Sanskrit Brahma. Aham Brahmasmi. That declaration you give with full conviction. Then what happens? Tebhyo vimuktaha. So that tebhyo vimuktaha means you are then free from all your problems, all the worries, all the samsara, all the dukkham, all the sufferings. You are free. And swayameva shamyati. Swayameva shamyati. The word shamyati means to become peaceful. Long back we heard this word shama. Shama means having a peaceful and equipoised mind control. Shama really means mind control. So shamyati is a verbal form of shama. That means you are able to have complete control of your mind, keep it in a state of peace and tranquility, which means you have got rid of all your worries. That is the shamyati, swayameva shamyati. So this knowledge itself will give you peace. You don't have to do anything extra to get peace of mind. By abiding in this knowledge that I am really speaking Brahman, I am really speaking consciousness, that knowledge alone by itself can give you peace of mind. That is the Swayameva Shamyati. So this is basically a Phalasruti. This concludes the whole discussion on Shravanam and Mananam, and it says how you can actually be free simply by doing thorough Shravanam and Mananam. Really speaking, you don't need Nididhyasanam if this much of accomplishment has happened. Okay, but why do we need Nididhyasanam? That we will see in the later shlokas. The Acharya will explain why we need Nididhyasanam. But if the person has come through the proper channel, then Shravanam and Mananam alone they are capable of giving one peace and tranquility and Jivan Mukti. That is 352. Okay. Any questions?
No.
Okay. Then we'll move to 353. Ajnana Hridaya Granthehe.
Ajnana Hridaya Granthehe
Nishesha Vilayastada.
Nishesha Vilayastada
Samadhina Vikalpena.
Samadhina Vikalpena
Yadatma Yadadvaitatma darshanam.
Yada
Yada
Dvai Atma Darshanam.
Darshanam.
Ajnana hridaya granther nishesha vilayastada samadhina vikalpena yadadvaitatma darshanam. So from this shloka, the Acharya now starts talking about the nirvikalpaka samadhi, which was actually the intention from 341 itself. But then from 341, he kind of went into a short detour talking about Sravanam and Mananam. Now he has come back to the topic proper, which is the Nirvikalpa Samadhi based Nididhyasanam. Okay, so this is some kind of a Pratignya shloka. He is making a declaration here, and the following shlokas will be an elaboration of that idea. So, what is this declaration? Ajnana hridaya granthehe nishesha vilayaha. Vilayaha means dissolution. Vilayaha means dissolution or destruction. What is being dissolved? What is being destroyed? Ajnana hridaya granthehe. Now, granthi means a knot. K-N-O-T. Knot. Okay. In Hindi, it's called a gant. Okay. In other languages, I don't know, Tamil, it is called mudichu. Okay. In Tamil, it is called mudichu. Hindi, it is gant. And English, it is knot. K-N-O-T. Hridaya granthi. So, this hridaya is heart. And the heart in the Shastra actually refers to the mind. So, because the mind rests in the heart. So, hridaya granthi means it is not some knot in the physical heart. It is a knot in our thought process. And the knot is used, it is used in a figurative sense to denote ignorance, confusion, and all that. Let's say you have a roll of string and you want to use that roll of string. But if there are knots in between, that string will not be, properly used. So you will try to remove the string, knots in the string. Like that, your mind has to be clean. If it is full of problems and confusions, it is like a bundle of thread with lot of knots in it. That is one interpretation. The other interpretation is the knot actually signifies samsara, because your nature, which is Atma, and the external world and the body, the Anatma, are tied together through this knot. So, you getting tied to the external world is also this granthi or knot. So, you can look at it both ways. But whichever way you look at it, it is a problematic situation. Your heart is in knots. Yeah, and that is because of ajnanam. That knotted situation is because of ajnanam, ignorance. So what happens? This samadhi based nididhyasanam is able to dissolve this knotted state of the mind and free it from the knots. That is the first line. Ajnana hridaya granther nirshesha vilayastada. Nishesha means without any remnant. Not even an iota of ignorance or not even an iota of that knot remains. K-N-O-T. Yeah. So the samadhi based nididhyasanam is able to remove that hridaya granthi, the knot in the heart. Samadhina avikalpena yada advaitatma darshanam. That yada advaitatma, you have to split it like that. Yada advaitatma. Even though it is written as yada advaitatma in one stroke, when you split it, that yada and advaita become apparent. And that is where that S mark is there. That S mark is to tell you that there is a hidden A there. Okay, anyway, that is for Sanskrit. Samadhina avikalpena. The word avikalpa means nirvikalpa. Samadhina, through samadhi, which is acquired in the nirvikalpa state. And I think I told you what is this nirvikalpa samadhi. In the Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga, we start with yama niyama, which is then preparation, then asana, pranayama, pratyahara. Then we start with dharana, dhyana, samadhi. The last stage, samadhi, has two parts: savikalpaka samadhi, nirvikalpaka samadhi. In savikalpaka samadhi, you focus on the teaching with a lot of deliberation, with a lot of effort. Whereas in the nirvikalpa samadhi, that absorption in the teaching becomes automatic. That is the whole process of nirvikalpa samadhi. So in that nirvikalpa samadhi, you revisit your Advaita teaching. That Advaita Atma Darshanam. Here the word Darshanam means not seeing something. You can say Darshanam can be philosophy or the teaching. Advait Atma Darshanam. Atma Darshanam is to know the true nature. So you can say Atma Swarupam. So the Advaita Atma Swarupam, which is nothing but realizing that you are Brahman, that conviction is practiced in the Nirvikalpa Samadhi state. Okay. And what you should remember or understand is that even though we take the help of Nirvikalpa Samadhi, one may or may not be successful in reaching that Nirvikalpa Samadhi stage. Okay, because Nirvikalpa Samadhi is not something anybody and everybody can easily get. It takes a lot of practice and a lot of effort, and it also requires a lot of divine grace and prarabdham and all that. So, in spite of several years of attempt, one may not reach the Nirvikalpa Samadhi state. But that doesn't matter. The very attempt to repeat the Advaitic teaching in that Savikalpa state also will produce the benefit. So you need not despair that, I am not able to reach Nirvikalpa Samadhi, so is this all completely wasted? That fear need not be there. Even if you don't reach the Nirvikalpa Samadhi state, even if you sit in meditation for 10, 20, 30, whatever minutes in a Savikalpa state and manage to focus on the teaching, that itself is a good achievement and that will produce the necessary result. Okay, that was 353. Any questions? Did I leave out anything? No? Can we
No,
move
sir.
on?
Thank you, sir.
Go ahead.
Right. We'll go to 354. Tvam aham idam itiyam.
Tvam aham
Tvamaham
itiyam.
Tvam aham idam itiyam.
Tvam aham idam
itiyam
Kalpana buddhi doshat.
kalpana buddhi
doshat
Prabhavati paramatmani
prabhavati paramatmani
paramatmani
advaye nirvisheshe.
advaye nirvisheshe
nirvisheshe
Pravilasati
pravilasati
samadhavasya
samadhavasya
sarvo vikalpo
karvo
vikalpo
vilayanam upagachet
vilayanam upagachet
upagachet
vastu tattvavadhritya.
vastu tattva
Tvamaham itiyam kalpana buddhi doshat prabhavati paramatmanyadvaye nirvisheshe pravilasati samadhavasya sarvo vikalpo vilayanam upagachet vastu tattvavadhritya. Okay, so here some more explanation is being offered. Again, a lot of this will sound like the repetition of the Shravanam teaching itself. Okay, but then you have to keep it in mind that you will see a lot of repetition in all these slokas up to 417. It is not some new idea that Acharya is trying to bring in. The Acharya is repeated or going to repeat ad nauseum whatever we have learnt until now, just to hammer it into our head so that it goes inside in some manner or the other. So this repetition is actually to make sure that the subject we are talking about is a very subtle subject. So some people may grasp it in one or two cycles, but for some people it may be difficult. So he's trying to do more and more revision. So all this is revision portion. So don't be disappointed that why are we hearing the same thing again and again. Yeah. So tvam, aham, idam, iti, iyam. Kalpana. Tvam means you. Aham means I. Idam means this. Iti, in this manner. So this refers to all the plurality that we experience. You, I, he, my family, my friends, my employees or employers or whatever, all the social connections, everything. That is I, you, he, this, that, all that. Kalpana. And he calls this a kalpana. Kalpana means an imagination, or to use the word which will come later, it is a superimposition. It is an apparent, what do you call it? It's an apparent illusion or misconception, you can call all that kalpana. So kalpana is what? You are imagining something which is actually not there. So all these plurality that we are seeing, they are all related to the body. That is the ultimate lesson. Okay, so it is because of the anatma that we are seeing difference between various objects. But really speaking, these are not different real entities, but these are different apparent entities. I gave this example long back. In the Shiva temples in South India, behind the lingam, you will generally find a mirror on the wall, and that mirror will actually it will look like a flower. It will have some 16 different petals along the on the circumference, and there will be one small circle in the center. All of them mirrors, pieces of mirror. And then there will be a lamp, a single lamp. And that single lamp will get reflected in that mirror, and it will look like there are some 16, 17 flames. So reality is there is only one flame in the middle. But that one flame, because it is reflected in all these small mirrors, it gets reflected as multiple flames. That is basically a symbol to tell you that, look, there is only one Brahman, which is real, and all the other things that you see around it are all unreal. Because the reflection is unreal. The flame is the real flame. So that is the symbolic teaching the Shivalingam, the Shivan Sannadhi in the temple tells you. Okay, that same idea he is giving in Kalpana. So this is all the differences, the multitude that you see is all illusion. And Prabhavati Paramatmani Advaye Nirviseshe. So the Paramatma, the Brahman, which is supporting all these illusions, which is the substratum of the whole universe, which is an illusion, that Paramatma himself or itself does not have any attributes. Nirvisheshe means with no attributes. That is why Nirgunam Brahma. That Brahman is Nirgunam Brahma. There is actually no attribute associated with it. But it appears to have something superimposed on it. And I think I've given a lot of examples in the earlier lectures. One example we give is typically the crystal and a red flower kept near it. The crystal actually has no color of its own. It is just transparent white. It's not even white, it is transparent. It is just transparent. But if you keep a red color flower next to the crystal becomes red in color. It appears red in color. Really speaking, that color doesn't belong to the crystal. The color is superimposed on it by the red flower because of its proximity. Exactly like that, Brahman is a crystal. I mean, crystal in the sense what? Nirvikalpam, no attributes. In Rudram, there is a shloka, in the Dhyana shloka, there is, I don't know how many of you know about it, Shuddha Spatika Sankasham, Trinetram Panchavaktakam. That Shuddha Spatika Sankasham, Spatikam means a crystal. And so Shiva is worshipped in the ice form also. In Amarnath, Shiva is a form of ice. And why is it ice? The ice has no color of its own. Really speaking, ice is made of water and water has no color of its own. So these are all symbolic ways of telling us that Paramatma really is without any attributes. So that Advaye Nirvisheshe Paramatmani, this Tvam Aham Idam, all these Kalpana, Buddhi Doshat Prabhavati. So Buddhi Doshat really means, it is, here the word Buddhi really means the ignorant mind, not the intelligent mind. Buddhi means the mind, but this Buddhi which sees that multitude is an ignorant mind. So really speaking, Buddhi Doshat really means the ignorance that is pervading the mind makes you see that multitude. That is the first two lines. Then Pravilasati Samadhavasya Sarvo Vikalpo Vilayanam Upagachet. Vilayanam Upagachet means it dissolves. That Vilayanam you saw in the 353 also. First line, last word. Nishesha Vilayastada. That Nishesha Vilayastada is here brought as Vilayanam Upagachet. The dissolution of that multitude happens. Once you go through Vastu Tattva Avadhritya. Vastu Tattva Avadhritya is the same as the Advaitatma Darshanam of the previous shloka. Vastu Tattva Avadhriti. Avadhriti means to keep firmly in the mind. To anchor the teaching in your mind is Avadhriti. What is that anchoring? Vastu Tattva. Vastu Tattva here means Brahmajnanam. So, Vilayana Upagachet Vastu Tattva Avadhritya. Once you anchor that Brahma Vidya in your mind and go through the Samadhi, Samadhau, Samadhavasya means in Samadhi, Sarvo Vikalpo Vilayanam Upagachet. All the illusions, all the Kalpana, you saw in the first line, Kalpana, that illusion, that superimposition, all of them vanishes. And this is just again a kind of a Pratigya Vakyam, how the Samadhi Abhyasa is going to release you or relieve you from the ignorance-based problems. So there is, the 353 was a 2-line shloka, this 354 is a 4-line shloka, a slightly elaborate, message, but still the same message. Not different at all. Okay. Any questions? Good to go. Next shloka.
Next
Yeah.
one.
Yes, sir. Good to go, sir.
Right. Shanto Dantah Paramuparatah.
Shanto Dantah
Paramuparatah.
Param Uparatah.
Paramuparatah
Paramuparatah.
Kshantiyuktah samadhim.
Shantiyuktah
Shantiyuktah
samadhi.
samadhi.
Kurvan nityam kalayati yatihi.
Kurvan nityam kalayati
kalayati yatihi.
Swasya sarvatma bhavam.
Swasya
Swasya
sarvatma
sarvatma bhavam.
Bhavam.
Tena vidya timira janitan.
Tena
Tena
vidya
vidyatmirajanitan
Sadhu dagdhva vikalpan.
sadhu
sadhudhava
vikalpan
vikalpan
Brahmakritya nivasati sukham.
Brahma kritya
Brahmakritya
nivasati
nivasati
sukham
sukham
Nishkriyo nirvikalpaha.
nishkriyo nirvikalpah.
Kalpaha.
Shantodantah paramuparatah kshantiyuktah samadhim kurvan nityam kalayati yati swasya sarvatma bhavam. Tena vidya timira janitan sadhu dagdhva vikalpan brahmakritya nivasati sukham nishkriyo nirvikalpaha. This shloka is a description of how one practices this samadhi abhyasa. So what are the components of the so-called samadhi based nididhyasanam, so that you can do it step by step or piece by piece. Yeah, so it gives you an idea what all things are involved. Okay, so shantah dantah param uparatah, then kshantiyuktah samadhim. Now all these are, I think we saw exact same qualities in one of the earlier shlokas. Let me go back and remind you where we saw it. Quite some time back we saw. I'm not able to find it. It says, Shrutihi, that shloka ends with the word Shrutihi. And there also we talked about the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad mantra, which talked about the Samadhi Shatka Sampatti. That was a shloka I'm looking for.
That was last class, sir.
Sorry?
That was last class.
Last class?
Uh-huh.
So recent? Okay.
Yeah, you also quoted one more from Taittiriya Upanishad.
Okay. Anyway, so if it is last class, I should be able to find
Is
it
it
immediately.
sarvatma siddhaye bhikshoho krutashravamna karmanaha samadhim vidadhatyesha shanto danta iti shruti.
Where is that, ma'am? Sorry, very good. Where is that?
341.
341, correct. I missed that. I kept scrolling. Yeah.
So was it from last class, sir? Because I remember you quoting the Upanishad
Yeah.
Vakyams.
No. This is from 3 weeks before. Okay. Sarvatma siddhaye bhikshoho kritasravana karmanaha samadhim vidadhatyesha shanto danta iti shruti. So that shanto danta you will see in this shloka which we are now seeing.
Right.
Which is why I wanted to connect this shloka. Yeah.
Right.
So the shanta danta we already saw, and it is nothing but the Samadhi Shatka Sampatti which we talked about. When we start Vedantic teaching, when we start the Vedantic learning process, the first thing we learn is Sadhana chatushtaya sampatti. We talk about 4 qualities that one must develop. So the first one is Vairagya, the second is Viveka, the third one is Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti. That Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti is nothing but a bundle of 6 qualities which consists of Shama, Dama, Uparama, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhanam. So in this shloka, the first line has 5. What is missing is Shraddha. Okay, Shanto Danta Param Uparataha Kshanti Yukta Samadhim. So Shanta is Shama, Danta is Dama, Uparataha is Uparati, Titiksha is Kshanti, Samadhi is Samadhanam. And Shraddha is another quality which comes from another reading of the same Upanishad. So Shanta is the person who has the characteristic of Shama. So the word Shanta is a noun for the person. Shama is a noun for the quality. So it's an abstract noun. Similarly, Dantaha is a person who has the quality of Dama. Then Uparataha is a person who has the quality of Uparati. Then Kshanti. Kshanti is a quality itself. So Kshanti Yuktaha. Kshanti Yuktaha means one who has the quality of Kshanti, and Kshanti is the same as Titiksha. And Samadhim means Samadhanam. Kurvan Nityam. Kurvan Nityam means practice regularly. So, what the Acharya is trying to tell us here is, this Samadhi based Nididhyasanam is nothing but an attempt at increasing our sadhana chatushtaya sampatti score. Okay, that is the secret. Sadhana chatushtaya sampatti score, if you give yourself a score of 0 to 100 on all the 6 qualities and then do an aggregate and see where you stand, and if you have not crossed that pass mark, very often in exams, some exams you have 35% pass mark, in some exams you have 60% pass mark. So depending on which exam you take, the pass mark will vary. Like that, in the Vedanta also, for the Shravanam to work, you have to have a certain pass mark in all these qualities. So even after having gone through Shravanam and Mananam, if the person thinks or feels that he has not really had the benefit of the Vedantic teaching, it is because he still has to get more score in these 6 qualities. So by sitting in Samadhi Abhyasa, you are trying to improve your Sadhana Chatushtaya Sampatti, Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti score. Okay, so Samadhim Kurvan. Kurvan means by doing. Nityam means regularly. Kalayati yatihi swasya sarvatma bhavam. So yatihi here means the sadhaka, the nididhyasaka, the meditator. What does he do? Swasya sarvatma bhavam kalayati. Swasya means one's own. Sarvatma bhavam means the teaching. We saw in the Sarvatma bhavam also, we saw in some of the earlier shlokas, what it means is, it is to know that there is really no anatma, everything is atma. Really speaking, there is nothing called anatma. All that you think is anatma is really atma only. Because atma is the only real thing. Everything else is an illusion. So that Sarvatma bhavam means the readiness to accept everything as being oneself and not seeing anything as different from me. That attitude, this person has to reinforce into himself through this meditation. So this, I'm sure a lot of you would have heard about this auto suggestion. Yeah. So if you go to a psychiatrist, I'm sure none of you would need to go to a psychiatrist, but let's say somebody goes to a psychiatrist and then the psychiatrist says that you have to be cured of certain hang up or this or that, they very often they put you into a state of deep sleep, hypnotic sleep, and then in that hypnotic sleep they give you some auto suggestions, because it is supposed to go directly into your subconsciousness. And then when you get up from that hypnotic sleep, you feel that somehow your thought process has changed because of the auto suggestion, you know. And very often nowadays you have a lot of these neuro linguistic programming techniques, also NLP techniques, where you can yourself get into a hypnotic state and do auto suggestion and do it yourself without the help of a psychiatrist. And this nididhyasanam is exactly that kind of a treatment, that you go into a deep state of concentration with no connection to the external world, and then you repeat this teaching sufficiently long for that to penetrate and seep into your intellect and mind. Okay, so this nididhyasanam based on samadhi abhyasa is a very, very old time tested technique. Before, you know, the hypnotic sleep and NLP and all those words were even discovered. Okay, so this technique was known to our acharyas in the past, and that is what is being told here, that so when you control all your sense organs and withdraw into your mind, and then in that deep state of concentration, when you repeat even one mantra, aham brahmasmi, or aham amritosmi, you know, aham nityaha, aham shuddhaha, aham buddhaha, all those mantras, even if you repeat one mantra for 20 minutes, that will carry, you know, what happens is, after you get up from that samadhi after 20 minutes, that mantra that you repeated during samadhi will keep ringing in your mind in a very subtle form, which is called a sukshma vritti, and that will function like a tampura shruti for a musician. You know, a very talented musician, a very experienced musician can sing a 3-hour concert without even a physical tampura, because in his mind he has trained his mind to have that tampura shruti even without a physical tampura. So that is the level of training a trained musician brings with him. Exactly like that, by going into a samadhi state and by repeating this teaching, you are enabling your mind to carry this teaching in a very subtle form at the background, and that will then form the foundation on which all your other thought processes emerge. Okay, and you know, my guru says that we all play different roles during the day and during the week and during the month. You know, for some part of the day we are a husband or a wife, for some part of the day we are a, you know, parent, father or mother, for some part of the day we are either a student or a teacher, for some part of the day we are an employee or an employer. So we have different roles. Okay, in and through all those roles, there will be one role which will be very dominant. Okay, and that dominant role will define your character. That could be anything for anybody. You know, for instance, a tennis player will have the dominant role of a tennis player all the time in him. Similarly, an athlete will have the dominant personality of an athlete all the time or most of the time. So that is what defines him. So now, if you practice yourself into a certain mode where you make your Brahma Swarupam as your dominant personality for most of your time, either consciously or unconsciously, then over a period, it becomes your nature. Initially, it becomes your second nature, and finally, it becomes your true nature. So that is the whole secret behind the samadhi. So you go into that concentration and tell yourself, I am Brahman, I am unlimited, I am not this body. All those teachings you repeat. So that is swasya sarvatma bhavam kalayati. So the word kalayati means really to integrate oneself, to merge oneself into. So I'm still on the second line. Okay.
Yeah.
So kurvan nityam kalayati yatihi. So the yati is able to integrate himself with the teaching. Then tena avidya timira janitan vikalpan dagdva. Avidya timira janitan. Avidya is ignorance. Avidya is ignorance. Timiram is darkness. Janitan is born out of. So born out of the darkness of ignorance. So what is born out of the darkness of ignorance? Vikalpan. Vikalpan is the multitude or the superimpositions which we saw in the 345 as tvam aham idam iti. That is the vikalpa. Vikalpa really means divisions. So you, I, he, that division is born out of ignorance. Vidya timira janitan dagdva. Dagdva means to burn, to destroy. Sadhu dagdva. Sadhu dagdva means thoroughly. Sadhu here means thoroughly. It is used in an adverbial usage, not the sadhu as in sant. That sadhu is a noun sadhu. This sadhu here is a adverbial sadhu. Sadhu dagdva means thoroughly, completely destroyed. Then Brahmakritya nivasati sukham. So Brahmakriti. Brahma is Brahman. Akriti means Swarupam. Akriti normally means shape. But here Akriti is not shape, it is Swarupam, the nature. You know, all the qualities which we saw in 351. All that is your Akriti. Nitya Advaya Akhanda Chideka Rupo Buddhyadi Sakshi Sadasat Vilakshanaha Aham Pada Pratyaya Lakshitartha Pratyak Sadananda Ghanak Paratma. That is your Akriti. 351. You have to connect here. Brahmakritya nivasati. So you live in that state. You live the life of Brahman, practically within quotes. You know, you don't, Brahman doesn't have a life of its own. This whole world is Brahman's life. But then you have to own up that Brahman nature. That is nivasati. So you rest in that Brahman nature. You entrench yourself in that Brahman nature. You submerge into that water of Brahman. You can use all those figurative terms. Sukham. Sukham means at ease, naturally. Sukham means without any effort. Nivasati Sukham. That is a Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So in Nirvikalpa Samadhi, you don't take any additional effort to entertain that thought. So Brahmakritya Sukham Nivasati Nishkriyo Nirvikalpaha. Nishkriyo Nirvikalpaha is again the attribute of Brahman. Brahman doesn't do anything. Brahman is Akarta. Nishkriyam means no activity, no action, nothing. Nishkriyo Nirvikalpaha. No division also. It is one undivided infinity. That is Brahman. And that is you. I mean, after all of this, you should not say, I was meditating about that Brahman which is somewhere. No. That is not the meditation. That Brahman is myself. That myself has to be there. Only then it is a true Nididhyasana. Okay. So this 355 is actually a complete description of how one should go through the Nididhyasanam process. Okay. Was that enough? Or is there something which is a gap?
No, it's fine. Yeah.
It was good, sir.
Okay. We'll do one more shloka. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Samahita ye
Samahita ye
Ye
pravilapya bahyam
प्रविलाप्य भाग्यं
श्रोत्रादि चेतः
श्रोत्रादि
श्रोत्रादृचेतः
त्वम् अहं चिदात्मनि
त्वम् अहं
अहं
चिदात्मनि
चिदात्मनि
त एव मुक्ता
एव
एव
मुक्ता
मुक्ता
भवपाशबन्धैः
भवपाशबन्धैः
बन्धैः
नान्ये तु
नान्येतु
पारोक्ष्यकथाभिधायिनः
पारोक्ष्यकथाभिधायिनः
कथाभिधायिनः
कथाभिधायिनः.
कथाभिधायिनः.
Yeah, it's one word I cannot split, so it has to be a full word without break. Samahitaye pravilapya bahyam shrotraadicheta swamaham chidatmani ta eva mukta bhavapasha bandhaihi nanyetu parokshya kathavidhayinah. Okay, so samahita. Samahita means the one who has now submerged into the deep samadhi state. That is samahita. Samahita is a adjectival form of someone who is in the state of samadhi. Yeah. Ye pravilapya bahyam. So in that state of samadhi, what is this person doing? He has completely dissolved or gotten rid of the external world, and not only the external world, all the sense organs also. Shrotradi chetaha. Shrotram is your ear, hearing power, and adi means all the organs. Your eyes, your tasting, your smelling, all those sense organs are, made, what do you call that? In the Ashtanga Yoga we saw, no? Asana pratyahara. That pratyahara is that action of withdrawing the sense organs. So you are no longer extroverted, but you are focusing all your sense organs to focus inward. Okay, and that includes your swam aham. Aham here refers to ahankar. So that is, you resolve or dissolve all the personality, all those things that give you a separate personality, you dissolve into your Atma Swarupam, your Brahma Swarupam. That Atmani, Tvam Aham Chidatmani is there. No? That Chidatmani means your Brahma Swarupam. That Swam Aham is your Ahankara, which is a lower eye. That Chidatma is the higher eye, which is your Chaitanya Swarupam. Okay, Swamaham Ahankara is the reflected consciousness. Chidatma is the original consciousness. So you are owning up your true nature as the original consciousness and not the reflected consciousness, which is Ahankara. Okay, you integrate all of that into your Atma Swarupam, and te eva mukta. Only that person is truly liberated. Liberated from what? Bhava pasha bandhaihi. Bhava bandha means bondage. Bhava pasha is, the word bhava means birth or janma, and pasha means a rope. So bhava pasha bandhaihi means this whole janma is visualized to be a rope that is binding us to the world. So from that rope of bondage, you are liberated. Only that person who is able to manage this pravilapanam of the sense organs and the mind and ahankara, only that person is able to free himself from the bondage of life and samsara, na anyetu, and not others. And for the others, he is giving a word, parokshya kathabhidhayinah. So Parokshya Katha means someone who says that yes, there is some Brahman somewhere. So he looks at Brahman as some third entity. And Katha, and that is actually a story, that's not real. That Brahman is somewhere else is not a real, so it's a story, it's a Katha. And Abhidhayinaha means they are hanging on to it, they are holding on to that story so strongly that they are not able to let go of the idea that Brahman is somewhere, somebody somewhere, nothing to do with me. So that is the parokshya katha abhinayana. So parokshyam comes from the word paroksha. No, the word paroksha means seeing through somebody's eyes, or it's a second-hand experience. You can take it at that way. The word paroksha is the opposite of, what is opposite of paroksha? Sakshat. We say sakshat. Sakshat means in front of my eyes. There's a better word for it. Paroksha. Paroksha. Anyway, I'll remember probably next week. Paroksha means seeing through somebody's eyes, which is a second-hand experience. And Sakshat means a first-hand experience. Sorry? Aparoksha, correct. Aparoksha, correct. Aparoksha means first-hand knowledge. Aparoksha means you see through your own eyes. Whereas paroksha is to see through somebody's eyes, which is a second-hand experience. So these parokshya kathabhidayinaha, they are the ones who talk of Brahman as described by somebody else. My guru says that there is a Brahman. That is the paroksha katha. So you cannot, if you are a paroksha katha vidhayi, you cannot become liberated. You have to own up that Brahman nature by submerging yourself into the samadhi abhyasa based nididhyasanam. So here the shloka talks about the importance of why one should practice samadhi abhyasa. But then, as I said earlier also, the samadhi abhyasa based nididhyasanam is not a compulsory exercise. It is only for those who feel that their sadhana chatushtaya sampatti should be improved, and then they want a better absorption through a specially designed process. You make your absorption more intense. If you think you need that intense absorption, you can optionally go into samadhi abhyasa. Otherwise, if you in the course of Shravanam and Mananam, if you are able to keep in touch with the teachings regularly, and also lead an alert life, a mindful life, and make sure that your FIR rating comes down gradually, then you really don't need samadhi abhyasa. Yeah, so that was 356. Okay, right. Can we close today's class?
Yes, I think.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So after we chant the shlokas, just stay back for a few minutes. I'll request ma'am to stop the recording. We'll have a very short discussion. Yeah. Okay. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate Sarvesham Swastirбhavatu Sarvesham Shantirbhavatu Sarvesham Purnam Bhavatu Sarvesham Mangalam Bhavatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Right. Can you please stop the recording?